Emma Rodriguez pushed through the tall purple grass that grew everywhere on New Haven. The 15-year-old girl moved quietly through the crystal forest, her backpack heavy with plant samples for her mother's research. The strange trees around her looked like giant glass sculptures, their transparent trunks catching the light from the planet's twin suns. She had been walking for 2 hours when she heard it. A deep, painful sound that made her stop dead in her tracks. It was not like any animal she knew from Earth or from the colony records. The sound came again, longer this time, filled with so much pain that Emma felt tears form in her eyes. Emma knew she should turn around and go back to the colony. Her parents always told her to stay close to the settlement. But something about that cry made her feet move forward instead of backward. She had always been the kind of person who ran toward trouble, not away from it. The sound grew louder as she walked deeper into the forest. The crystal trees began to thin out, and Emma found herself at the edge of a small clearing. What she saw there made her gasp and step backward, her heart pounding like a drum. A massive creature lay on its side in the center of the clearing. It was the most beautiful and terrifying thing Emma had ever seen. The being looked like the dragons from old Earth stories, but this was real. Its scales shimmered between deep purple and bright silver as the sunlight hit them. 4 powerful legs ended in claws that could easily tear through metal. Wings that must have been 30 feet across lay folded against its back. But the creature was clearly suffering. Its huge head thrashed back and forth, and its mouth hung open in a way that looked wrong. Emma could see something glowing inside its mouth, something that did not belong there. The dragon tried to close its mouth, but could not. Each attempt brought another cry of pain that echoed through the forest. Emma stood frozen for several minutes, watching the magnificent creature struggle. Most people would have run away or called for help from the colony's security team, but Emma saw something in the dragon's large, intelligent eyes that made her think of a hurt animal rather than a monster. The dragon suddenly noticed her standing at the edge of the clearing. Its head snapped toward her, and for a moment both girl and dragon stared at each other in complete silence. Emma could see fear in those alien eyes, mixed with pain and something that looked like hope. She took a small step forward, her hands raised to show she meant no harm. The dragon tried to move away but was too weak. Emma could see now that the creature had been hurt badly. There were cuts on its sides and one wing looked damaged. But the worst problem was clearly in its mouth. Emma moved closer, speaking in the soft voice she used with frightened animals back on Earth. "It's okay," she whispered. "I want to help you. I won't hurt you." The dragon could not understand her words, but something in her tone seemed to calm it a little. Emma got close enough to see what was causing the problem. Strange thorns, glowing with their own light, had somehow gotten stuck deep in the dragon's mouth and throat. The thorns looked like they belonged to some of the plants she had seen in the forest, but these were much larger and seemed to be moving, growing even as she watched. Emma realized with horror that the thorns were not just stuck in the dragon's mouth. They were growing there, feeding off the creature like parasites. No wonder the poor thing could not eat or drink properly. It was slowly starving. She backed away slowly, her mind racing. The dragon watched her with those intelligent eyes, as if it understood that she was trying to figure out how to help. Emma knew she could not remove those thorns by herself. They were too big and too deep. But she also knew she could not leave this beautiful creature to suffer. The dragon made another sound, softer this time, almost like it was trying to talk to her. Emma felt something strange happen in her mind, like a gentle touch that was not quite a thought but not quite a feeling either. For just a moment she thought she could sense what the dragon was feeling. Pain, yes, but also loneliness and a kind of sadness that went deeper than physical hurt. Emma pulled her water bottle from her backpack and moved closer again. The dragon did not try to move away this time. She poured some water near its head, and the creature managed to lap up a little bit, though most of it ran out through the gaps the thorns created. "I'll be back," Emma promised, even though she knew the dragon could not understand her words. "I'll find a way to help you." She turned and ran back through the crystal forest toward the colony. Her mind was already working on the problem. She would need tools and probably help, but she could not tell the adults about the dragon. They would see it as a threat, not as a patient who needed care. As she ran, Emma did not notice the small device that had fallen from the dragon's body when it moved. The device was no bigger than her thumb, but it contained technology that was far beyond anything humans had ever created. It had been sending out a signal since the dragon crashed on New Haven 3 days ago. a signal that was being received by ships that were still very far away but getting closer. Emma reached the colony as the twin suns were setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. She waved to the guards at the gate and hurried to her family's house. At dinner, she tried to act normal, but her mind kept returning to the dragon in the forest. She had to find a way to help it. That night, Emma lay in bed staring at the ceiling. She could still feel that strange touch in her mind, like an echo of the dragon's thoughts. Somewhere out in the crystal forest, a magnificent creature was suffering, and she was the only one who knew about it. Emma had always been told she was too soft-hearted, too willing to help others even when it was dangerous. Tonight, she decided that maybe being soft-hearted was not such a bad thing after all. Tomorrow, she would find a way to save the dragon. She had to. Emma woke up before dawn and quietly packed her backpack with supplies. She took extra water bottles, some protein bars, and a small first aid kit from her mother's lab. She also grabbed a drawing pad and some pencils. If she could not talk to the dragon with words, maybe she could use pictures. The colony was still quiet as Emma slipped out through the main gate. The guards knew her as Dr. Rodriguez's daughter and assumed she was going on another plant collecting trip. They waved her through without asking questions. The walk to the crystal forest seemed longer this morning. Emma worried that the dragon might be gone, or worse, that it might have died during the night. But as she approached the clearing, she heard that same pained sound that had first led her there. The dragon was still in the same spot, but it looked weaker. Its breathing was shallow, and the beautiful scales had lost some of their shine. The glowing thorns in its mouth seemed bigger than before, definitely growing and spreading. Emma approached slowly, speaking in the same gentle voice she had used the day before. "I'm back," she said softly. "I brought food and water." The dragon lifted its massive head and looked at her. There was recognition in those alien eyes and something that might have been relief. Emma felt that strange touch in her mind again, stronger this time. It was like hearing music that was almost too quiet to notice. She set down her backpack and pulled out a water bottle. This time she had brought a small funnel from her mother's lab. She managed to get more water into the dragon's mouth. Though much of it still leaked out around the thorns, the creature drank gratefully, and Emma could feel its appreciation like a warm feeling in her chest. Next, she tried offering food. The protein bars were too solid for the dragon to chew, but she had also brought some liquid nutrition supplements that her mother used for sick plants. The dragon managed to swallow some of this, and Emma was happy to see a little color return to its scales. After the dragon had eaten and drunk what it could, Emma sat down a safe distance away and pulled out her drawing pad. She drew simple pictures, herself bringing food and water, the dragon getting better, the thorns being removed. She showed each drawing to the dragon, pointing at the pictures and then at real things. The dragon watched with obvious interest. When Emma drew a picture of the thorns being pulled out, the creature made a sound that was almost like purring. It understood what she was trying to show it. Emma spent the whole day with the dragon. She gave it a name in her mind, Cosmos, because the star-like patterns on its scales reminded her of the night sky. As the hours passed, she began to notice things about Cosmos that made her sure it was very intelligent. The dragon would point with one claw at different pictures Emma had drawn, as if asking questions. When Emma drew herself bringing bigger tools to remove the thorns, Cosmos nodded its great head. It was not just smart, it was as smart as any human, but the most amazing thing happened late in the afternoon. Emma was sitting close to Cosmos, carefully examining the thorns to see how they were attached. Suddenly, her mind filled with images that were not her own thoughts. She saw flashes of other worlds, places with purple skies and floating cities. She saw other creatures like Cosmos, flying through space between the stars. She saw a terrible fight, ships shooting bright beams of light at each other and Cosmos fleeing from something frightening. The images faded as quickly as they had come, leaving Emma gasping and confused. Cosmos was looking at her with those intelligent eyes, and Emma realized that the dragon had somehow shared its memories with her. "You're not from this world," Emma whispered. "You came from the stars." Cosmos made that purring sound again and touched Emma's mind once more. This time the touch was gentler, like a friend putting a hand on her shoulder. Emma felt the dragon's loneliness, its fear, and its growing trust in her. Over the next 3 days, Emma developed a routine. She would sneak out early in the morning, spend the day with Cosmos, and return to the colony before her parents started to worry. Each day she brought more supplies and tried different ways to help with the thorns. The thorns were the real problem. They had roots that went deep into Cosmos's mouth and throat. Emma could see that they were definitely alive and growing. Worse, they seemed to be spreading to other parts of the dragon's body. There were small thorns starting to grow on Cosmos's neck and shoulders. Emma tried everything she could think of. She brought tools from her mother's lab and tried to cut the thorns, but they were too hard. She tried different chemicals that might kill the thorns, but nothing worked. If anything, the thorns seemed to grow faster when she tried to harm them. By the fourth day, Emma was getting desperate. Cosmos was clearly getting weaker. The dragon slept most of the time now, and when it was awake, it seemed to have trouble staying alert. The mental connection between them was getting fainter too. Emma sat beside the dragon's great head, tears running down her face. "I don't know how to help you," she whispered. "I'm just a kid. I need help from someone who knows more than I do." Cosmos opened one eye and looked at her. The dragon's mind touched hers one more time, and Emma felt a clear message: trust. Emma realized what Cosmos was trying to tell her. The dragon trusted her completely, even though she was young and had no special training. Maybe it was time for Emma to trust someone else too. She could not save Cosmos alone, but maybe she did not have to work alone. That evening, Emma made a decision. She would tell her best friend Jake Morrison about Cosmos. Jake was only a year older than her, but he was good with machines and tools. His father was the colony's chief engineer, so Jake knew about all kinds of equipment. More importantly, Jake had the same kind of heart that Emma did. He was the type of person who would want to help a suffering creature, even if it was alien and dangerous looking. Emma went to bed that night with a plan forming in her mind. Tomorrow she would bring Jake to meet Cosmos. Together, maybe they could find a way to remove the thorns before it was too late. She just hoped that Cosmos would trust Jake the way it had learned to trust her. As she drifted off to sleep, Emma felt a faint touch in her mind. Cosmos was still alive, still fighting, still hoping that the young human girl would find a way to save it. Emma fell asleep, determined not to let her friend down. Emma found Jake Morrison in the colony's workshop, where he spent most of his free time building and fixing things. Jake was 16, tall and thin, with brown hair that always looked messy because he was constantly running his hands through it when he was thinking. "Jake, I need your help with something," Emma said, closing the workshop door behind her. "But you have to promise to keep it secret." Jake looked up from the small robot he was building. "What kind of secret?" he asked, his eyes bright with curiosity. Emma took a deep breath. "The kind that could change everything we know about this planet. Maybe about the whole universe." For the next hour, Emma told Jake everything about Cosmos. She showed him the drawings she had made and described the mental connection she felt with the dragon. Jake listened without interrupting, his expression growing more amazed with each detail. "You're serious about this?" Jake said when Emma finished. "You really found an intelligent alien creature?" "More than intelligent," Emma said. "Cosmos is from an advanced civilization. I've seen flashes of their technology and the mental images it shares with me." "Jake, we're talking about beings who can travel between stars like we travel between cities." Jake was quiet for a long moment, thinking. "And you want me to help you remove these thorns from its mouth?" "I can't do it alone. The thorns are too big and too deep, but you're good with tools and machines. Maybe you can build something that will work." Jake stood up and walked to his father's tool cabinet. "Show me your drawings of these thorns again." Emma spread out her sketches on the workbench. Jake studied them carefully, asking questions about the size and shape of the thorns, how they were attached, and what happened when Emma had tried to remove them. "They sound like some kind of parasitic plant," Jake said finally. "But if they're alive and growing, cutting them might make them grow back stronger. We need to remove them completely, roots and all. Can you build something that will do that?" Jake grinned, the same expression he got when he was faced with an interesting engineering problem. "I think so. But it's going to take me a couple of days to put together the right tools." While Jake worked on building extraction tools, Emma continued to visit Cosmos every day. The dragon was getting weaker, but it seemed to understand that help was coming. The mental connection between them was still strong, and Emma could feel Cosmos fighting to stay alive. On the second day, Emma brought Jake to meet Cosmos. Jake's reaction was everything Emma had hoped for. After the initial shock of seeing a real dragon, Jake was fascinated rather than frightened. "It's beautiful," Jake whispered as Cosmos watched them with its intelligent eyes. "And you're right about it being smart. Look how it's studying us." Cosmos seemed to sense that Jake was a friend. The dragon allowed Jake to come close and examine the thorns, though it was clearly uncomfortable having a stranger so near. "These are definitely parasites," Jake said after his examination. "And they're spreading faster than you described. We need to get them out soon, or they're going to take over its whole body." Jake had brought his specially designed extraction tools. He had modified a set of surgical instruments from the colony's medical supplies, adding longer handles and stronger grips. He had also built a small vacuum device that could suck out the thorn roots once they were loosened. "The biggest problem is going to be reaching the thorns in the back of its throat," Jake explained. "Someone is going to have to climb partway into its mouth to get to them." Emma and Jake looked at each other. They both knew who would have to do that job. Emma was smaller and lighter, and more importantly, Cosmos trusted her completely. "Are you sure about this?" Jake asked. "If it panics while you're in there?" "It won't panic," Emma said with more confidence than she felt. "Cosmos knows I'm trying to help." They decided to start with the smaller thorns near the front of Cosmos's mouth. Jake used his tools to carefully loosen the thorns while Emma held the dragon's head steady and spoke soothingly to it. The process was slow and difficult, but they managed to remove several of the smaller parasites. Each thorn that came out was followed by a small amount of glowing liquid. Jake collected this in sample containers, thinking Emma's mother might want to study it later. To their relief, the wounds left by the removed thorns began to heal almost immediately. But the biggest thorns were still deep in Cosmos's throat, too far back for Jake to reach with his tools. Emma would have to go in after them. Emma climbed carefully into Cosmos's mouth using a headlamp to see in the darkness. The smell was strange but not unpleasant, like flowers and metal mixed together. The thorns in the back were huge, some of them as thick as her arm. As Emma worked to attach Jake's extraction tools to the largest thorn, something amazing happened. Her mind suddenly filled with images from Cosmos's memories, but these were clearer than any she had experienced before. She saw the dragon's home world, a beautiful planet with floating cities and crystal mountains. She saw Cosmos's people, the Drakmari as they called themselves. They were an ancient race of explorers and scholars who had been traveling among the stars for thousands of years. But she also saw something terrible. Another alien race, the Vorthak, who hated any form of cooperation between different species. The Vorthak had been hunting down and destroying civilizations that tried to work together, and they had found the Drakmari. Emma saw the battle that had brought Cosmos to New Haven. The dragon was not just any Drakmari. It was a scout, sent to find new allies in the fight against the Vorthak. Cosmos had been studying human civilization from a distance, impressed by humanity's ability to work with other species and their rapid technological growth. The images faded as Emma successfully attached the extraction tool to the largest thorn. "Jake," she called, "start the vacuum." The extraction was painful for Cosmos, but the dragon held perfectly still, trusting Emma completely. One by one, the largest thorns came out, along with their spreading root systems. Each extraction left Cosmos looking a little stronger and more alert. When the last thorn was removed, Cosmos let out a sound of pure relief. The dragon's mouth could finally close properly for the first time in days. Emma crawled out, covered in the glowing liquid from the thorns but grinning with success. Cosmos looked at both teenagers and made a sound that was clearly meant to be a thank you. Then something even more amazing happened. The dragon spoke, not with its voice, but directly into their minds. "Thank you, young humans." The mental voice was clear and warm. "You have saved my life, and in doing so you may have saved both our peoples." Jake nearly fell over in shock. Emma just smiled and reached out to touch the dragon's great head. "You're welcome, Cosmos," she said aloud. "Now what's this about saving our peoples?" The answer to that question would have to wait. In the distance, alarms were beginning to sound from the colony. Someone had detected the energy signatures from Cosmos's hidden ship, and security teams were on their way to investigate. Cosmos lifted its great head at the sound of the colony alarms, and Emma felt a wave of worry flow through their mental connection. The dragon had hoped to keep its presence secret until it was strong enough to leave New Haven safely. My ship. Cosmos spoke directly into Emma and Jake's minds. Your people have found it. I had hoped to repair the communication systems before anyone noticed the energy readings. Where is your ship? Emma asked, though she was already getting flashes of images through their mental link. She saw an underwater cavern beneath the crystal forest, hidden by rocks and strange alien technology that made it invisible to most sensors. I must reach it, Cosmos said, struggling to stand. There are things your leaders need to know. Dangers coming that threaten both our peoples. Emma and Jake helped support the dragon as it stood on unsteady legs. Cosmos was much stronger now that the thorns were gone, but still weak from days of being unable to eat or drink properly. We'll help you get to your ship, Emma said. But Cosmos, what dangers are you talking about? Instead of answering with words, Cosmos shared more memories. Emma and Jake saw flashes of the Vorthak Collective, a species that looked like giant insects made of metal and hate. The Vorthak believed that different species should never interact or cooperate. They had spent centuries destroying civilizations that tried to work together, leaving dead worlds in their wake. They followed me here, Cosmos explained as they made their way through the forest. My ship was damaged in the battle, and I crashed on your world while trying to escape them. They will have tracked my emergency beacon. They are coming. The underwater cavern was unlike anything Emma or Jake had ever seen. Cosmos's ship sat in the center of a vast cave that was half filled with crystal clear water. The ship itself looked like it was made of the same material as Cosmos's scales, shifting between purple and silver in the light. But it was clearly damaged. There were holes in the hull that had been patched with some kind of metal that did not quite match the rest of the ship. Burn marks along the sides showed where enemy weapons had hit. Your technology, Jake whispered in amazement as they climbed aboard the ship. It's incredible. The inside of the ship was just as amazing as the outside. Walls that seemed to be made of living light displayed information and symbols that changed and moved. Control panels responded to Cosmos's touch, and the air itself seemed to shimmer with energy. Cosmos moved to what was obviously the communication station and began working with devices that looked like they were made of crystallized music. I must contact my people and warn them about the Vorthak approach. But first there is something you must understand about your species. What about us? Emma asked. Cosmos turned to look at both teenagers, and Emma felt a wave of something that might have been admiration flow through their mental link. The Drakmari have been watching human civilization for 50 of your years, Cosmos explained. We do not usually make contact with young species, but humans are different. You have something we have rarely seen in the galaxy. What's that? Jake asked. The ability to feel compassion for beings completely unlike yourselves. Most species fear or hate what is different, but humans have a gift for seeing past differences to the person inside. What you did for me, Emma, proves this. Emma felt her cheeks grow warm. Anyone would have helped. No, Cosmos said firmly. Most beings would have seen a dangerous predator and either run away or attacked. You saw someone in pain and chose to help. That is why the Drakmari believe humans could be valuable allies against the Vorthak. Before Emma could respond, new alarms began sounding from Cosmos's ship. The communication array was picking up signals from outside the planet's atmosphere. They are here, Cosmos said grimly. 3 Vorthak warships just entering your star system. They will be here in 6 of your hours. Can your ship fight them? Jake asked. Cosmos made a sound that might have been laughter, but there was no humor in it. My ship is a scout vessel built for speed and stealth, not battle. The Vorthak ships are designed for one purpose, destroying entire civilizations. Emma felt sick to her stomach. What about the colony? There are 3,000 people living here. The Vorthak will destroy everything, Cosmos said sadly. They see any world that has had contact with other species as contaminated. Your people, your buildings, even your plants and animals, they will burn it all. Jake was studying the ship's displays, trying to understand the alien technology. But your ship has weapons, right? I can see energy conduits that look like they're connected to some kind of firing systems. Yes, but not enough to fight 3 warships. What if we had help? Emma asked. What if the colony's defenses worked together with your ship? Cosmos considered this. Your people have impressive technology for such a young species, and they are clever fighters. I have studied your military history. Working together, we might have a chance. Then we need to talk to Captain Chen and the colony leadership, Emma said. We need to convince them to trust you. That will not be easy, Cosmos warned. I am alien to them. They will see me as a threat. Not if Jake and I vouch for you, Emma said with more confidence than she felt. You saved yourself by trusting us. Maybe it's time to trust some adults too. They were interrupted by the sound of vehicles approaching the cavern entrance. Captain Lisa Chen's security team had found them. Emma and Jake climbed out of the ship to meet the security team, with Cosmos following behind them. The sight of the dragon emerging from the alien ship caused several of the guards to raise their weapons. Don't shoot, Emma called out, placing herself between the guns and Cosmos. It's friendly. It needs our help. Captain Chen, a stern woman in her 40s with short black hair and alert eyes, stepped forward. She kept her weapon lowered but ready. Emma Rodriguez, what exactly is going on here? Captain Chen, this is Cosmos, Emma said, trying to keep her voice steady. It's from an alien civilization called the Drakmari, and right now it might be the only thing standing between our colony and total destruction. Explain, Captain Chen said curtly. Emma took a deep breath and began to tell the story. She explained about finding Cosmos injured, about the growing trust between them, and about the mental connection that had revealed the truth about the approaching Vorthak fleet. Captain Chen listened without interrupting, but Emma could see the disbelief in her eyes. The story sounded impossible even to Emma. You're saying this creature is telepathic? Captain Chen asked when Emma finished. I can prove it, Emma said. She looked at Cosmos. Show her. Cosmos stepped forward carefully, moving slowly so as not to frighten the armed humans. The dragon looked directly at Captain Chen and spoke into her mind. Captain Chen, I know this is difficult to believe, but your world is in terrible danger. I ask only for the chance to help you defend your people. Captain Chen staggered backward, her eyes wide with shock. Several of the guards raised their weapons again, but she held up a hand to stop them. How many ships did you say were coming? She asked, her voice tight with controlled fear. 3 Vorthak warships, Cosmos replied, still speaking directly into her mind. They will arrive in less than 6 hours. Each ship carries enough firepower to destroy your entire colony in minutes. Captain Chen looked at Emma, then at Jake, then back at the dragon. Emma could see her making rapid calculations, weighing the incredible story against the evidence of her own senses. If you're telling the truth, Captain Chen said finally, then we need to get back to the colony and start preparing defenses. If you're lying... She let the threat hang in the air. I understand your caution, Cosmos said. But understand this. If the Vorthak destroy your colony, they will not stop there. They will hunt down every human settlement they can find. What happens here today will determine the future of your entire species. Captain Chen made her decision. Everyone back to the colony. Emergency protocols are now in effect. She looked at Emma and Cosmos. You're coming with us. And you better hope your story checks out, because if it doesn't, we're all dead anyway. The colony's emergency command center had never seen anything like the scene unfolding inside it. Captain Chen stood at the main tactical display, trying to coordinate defenses for a battle against an enemy no human had ever faced. Cosmos lay nearby, the dragon's massive form taking up a quarter of the room, while Emma sat beside its head to serve as a translator. The Vorthak ships will drop out of hyperspace here, Cosmos explained, projecting tactical information directly into Emma's mind. Emma repeated the information aloud while Jake worked frantically at a computer terminal, trying to integrate the alien data with the colony's defense systems. Colony Administrator Frank Howard, a nervous man in his 50s, kept staring at Cosmos with barely controlled fear. I still can't believe we're taking military advice from an alien monster. That alien monster is the only reason we have any warning at all, Captain Chen said sharply. Without it, the first sign of attack would be our buildings exploding. Dr. Carlos Rodriguez, Emma's father, was studying readings from the colony's long-range sensors. I'm picking up 3 large objects on the edge of the system. Whatever they are, they're big and they're moving fast. Those are the Vorthak warships, Emma said, feeling Cosmos's confirmation through their mental link. They'll be here in less than 2 hours. What are our chances? Captain Chen asked. Cosmos was quiet for a moment, calculating with the cold logic of a military scout. Against 3 warships with only the colony's standard defenses? Very low, perhaps 5%. And with your ship helping us? Better, perhaps 20%. The room fell silent. Those were not the odds anyone wanted to hear. There has to be something else we can do, Jake said from his computer terminal, some advantage we're not seeing. Emma felt Cosmos's mind touch hers again, and suddenly she was seeing the battle from the dragon's perspective. She saw the Vorthak ships as Cosmos understood them, powerful but inflexible, designed to overwhelm weaker opponents through brute force. Cosmos says the Vorthak are not used to fighting coordinated defenses, Emma announced. They usually attack primitive worlds that can't fight back effectively. They've never faced humans before. What does that mean? Captain Chen asked. It means they won't expect us to be clever, Emma said, ideas beginning to form in her mind. They'll expect us to panic and fight as individuals. But humans are good at working together. Dr. Rodriguez looked up from his sensor readings. Emma's right. Looking at these ships, they're built like battering rams. Lots of forward firepower, but they don't seem designed for complex tactical maneuvers. So we don't fight them the way they expect, Captain Chen said, understanding dawning in her eyes. We use our advantages, teamwork, creativity, and knowledge of our own terrain. Over the next hour, an unprecedented battle plan took shape. The colony's defensive systems would be coordinated with Cosmos's ship through Emma's telepathic link. Jake had figured out how to integrate some of the Dragon's advanced sensors with the human targeting systems, giving them much better information about enemy positions. But the real innovation came from Cosmos itself. The Dragon had been studying human military history through Emma's memories and was fascinated by human tactics. Your species has a gift for unconventional warfare, Cosmos explained through Emma. You use deception, misdirection, and coordinated attacks in ways that most species never consider. The plan they developed was risky and complex. Cosmos's ship would remain hidden in the underwater cavern, using its advanced sensors to track the Vorthak ships. The colony's surface defenses would appear to be fighting independently, drawing the enemy ships into specific positions. At the crucial moment, Cosmos would emerge from hiding and attack the Vorthak ships from an unexpected angle. While the colony's weapon systems coordinated their fire through Emma's telepathic link with the Dragon. The key is timing, Captain Chen explained to her team. We get one chance at this. If we miss our opportunity, those ships will flatten the colony. As the Vorthak fleet approached, Emma found herself at the center of the most complex military operation in human history. She sat in the command center with her hands on Cosmos's head, serving as a living communication link between human and alien technology. 3 ships dropping out of hyperspace, Dr. Rodriguez announced. Distance 2 million kilometers in closing. Through Cosmos's enhanced sensors, Emma could see the Vorthak ships clearly. They were ugly things, like giant metal insects bristling with weapons. Each ship was easily 10 times the size of anything humans had ever built. They're scanning the planet, Emma reported, translating Cosmos's observations. They can detect the colony's energy signature, but they can't see Cosmos's ship. The Vorthak ships moved into attack formation, approaching the planet with the confidence of predators who had never faced serious resistance. Their communication channels were full of the alien equivalent of contempt for the primitive human settlement they were about to destroy. They're charging weapons, Emma said, feeling tension flow through her link with Cosmos. Attack begins in 30 seconds. All defensive systems online, Captain Chen ordered. Remember, make it look good, but don't show them everything we have. We need them to come closer. The first Vorthak attack was devastating. Beams of energy that could melt mountains struck the colony's outer defenses, destroying several buildings in seconds. But the colony's response was not what the aliens expected. Instead of panicking, the human defenders fought back with coordinated precision. Surface-to-space missiles launched in carefully timed sequences, while energy weapons focused their fire on specific targets. The attacks were not random or desperate. They were part of a larger plan. It's working, Emma said, watching through Cosmos's sensors as the Vorthak ships moved into the positions the defenders wanted. They think they're winning, so they're getting overconfident. The Vorthak ships moved closer to the planet, wanting to ensure the complete destruction of the human colony. Their weapons charged for a final overwhelming bombardment that would leave nothing alive on New Haven's surface. Now, Captain Chen shouted. Cosmos's ship erupted from the underwater cavern like a silver comet, its advanced weapons systems fully charged. At the same moment, every remaining defense system in the colony opened fire in perfect coordination, all targeting information flowing through Emma's telepathic link. The effect was devastating. The Vorthak ships, caught completely off guard by the coordinated attack from two different technology sources, found themselves under fire from directions they had not even considered possible. Emma felt the battle through Cosmos's senses, the satisfaction of successful strikes, the alarm of the Vorthak commanders as their ships took damage, the growing realization that they had seriously underestimated their human opponents. "Direct hit on the lead ship," Emma announced. "It's badly damaged, but the battle was far from over. The Vorthak ships were tough, and even damaged, they were still dangerous. Return fire from the alien vessels struck Cosmos's ship, sending waves of pain through the dragon that Emma felt as if it were her own. Cosmos is hurt," Emma said, trying to maintain the telepathic link despite the feedback from the dragon's pain. "The ship's left engine is damaged. Can it still fight?" Captain Chen asked. Emma felt Cosmos's determination flow through their connection. The dragon was wounded but not defeated. "Yes, Cosmos says this is what its people have been training for. It won't give up." The battle continued for another 20 minutes, a deadly dance of attack and counterattack above New Haven's surface. The colony's defenders fought with a creativity and coordination that the Vorthak had never encountered before, while Cosmos provided firepower and tactical information that kept the humans one step ahead of their enemies. Finally, the tide turned. The lead Vorthak ship, badly damaged and unable to coordinate effectively with its companions, made a critical error. It moved into a position where both Cosmos's ship and the colony's main defense cannon could target it simultaneously. "All weapons, concentrated fire on the lead ship," Captain Chen ordered. The combined attack from human and Drakmari weapons was too much for the alien vessel. It exploded in a brilliant flash that lit up New Haven's sky like a second sun. The remaining two Vorthak ships, faced with an enemy that was clearly more dangerous than they had expected, made a decision that surprised everyone. They retreated. "They're jumping back to hyperspace," Emma announced, hardly believing what she was sensing through Cosmos. "They're running away." The command center erupted in cheers, but Emma barely heard them. She was focused on Cosmos, feeling the dragon's mixture of relief, pain, and something that might have been pride. "Is it over?" Captain Chen asked. Emma felt Cosmos consider the question carefully before answering. "For now, but the Vorthak will return with more ships. This was just a scouting force. The real war is still coming. Then we better get ready for it," Captain Chen said grimly. Emma looked around the command center at the faces of the people who had just fought humanity's first interstellar battle. They were scared but determined, ready to face whatever came next. "We won't be facing it alone," Emma said, feeling Cosmos's agreement through their mental link. "The Drakmari want to work with us. Together, we might actually have a chance." Outside, the sun was setting over New Haven, painting the sky in shades.